Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a real conversation. Not the kind that hides behind cliches, silence, or assumptions, but one that speaks the truth many avoid. Because when it comes to intimacy, and I don't just mean the bedroom, there are certain positions women silently crave, beg for with their emotions, their energy, and their actions, but so many men never even realize. This isn't about physical flexibility. This is about emotional depth, spiritual alignment, and psychological intimacy. Every woman wants to feel safe. It's a universal desire, deeply rooted not only in biology, but in emotion, spirit, and the essence of connection. But the safety I'm talking about today goes far beyond locked doors, financial stability, or walking her to her car at night. That kind of protection is expected. It's visible. It's simple. What many men never understand is that the kind of safety women beg for is invisible, emotional, and profoundly impactful. It's about protecting her from the silent doubts she carries, the unspoken insecurities she battles, and the emotional storms she sometimes cannot describe. She may not say it out loud, but every time she hesitates before opening up to you, every time she swallows her feelings to avoid seeming too sensitive, she's really asking, can I trust you with my truth? When you make her feel like her emotions are a burden, even subtly, you teach her that she has to handle it all alone. And over time, she stops sharing. She stops expressing. She begins to harden. She learns that with you, her softness must be hidden, not because you're a bad man, but because you never made it safe enough for her to fully be herself. Being a protector in this context means becoming fluent in the language of her silence. It means recognizing when her "I'm fine" is a mask, and instead of taking her words at surface level, you pause, stay close, and say, I can feel something's off. Talk to me when you're ready. That one sentence can be the difference between her shutting down and her opening up. Because what she craves is not just a solution to her problems, but the comfort of knowing she doesn't have to face them alone. When a woman feels protected emotionally, she becomes more than secure, she becomes radiant. Because she's no longer using her energy to guard herself from the one person who should be her safe space. Men often feel like they have to show strength by suppressing their emotions and expecting her to do the same. But real strength, the kind that builds emotional intimacy, lies in your ability to make space for hers. If she cries, don't rush to stop her. Let her feel. If she shares something dark or heavy, don't immediately try to fix it. Sit with her in it. Let her know it's okay to be seen in her mess. She's not expecting perfection from you. She's hoping for presence. A woman feels protected when she knows she can be vulnerable without being judged, when her dreams aren't minimized, when her trauma isn't used against her. The more she's accepted, the more she's open to you, the more she trusts you. Your father feels that. When her dreams aren't minimized, when her trauma isn't used against her, when you respect her boundaries, when you defend her even when she's not in the room, when you speak highly of her, not just when you're proud, but even when you're upset, that's protection. It's when you choose not to raise your voice, even when you're angry. It's when you make sure that in every disagreement, her dignity is still intact. Because protecting her isn't about controlling her or fixing everything for her. It's about creating a world between the two of you where she doesn't have to wear armor just to love and be loved. And here's the part that most people miss. Women who feel protected emotionally become far more open sexually. They trust more, they give more, they love more freely. Because for women, emotional safety is directly tied to intimacy. When she knows she won't be mocked, compared, dismissed, or shamed, she lets go. And when she lets go, the connection between you two becomes deeper, stronger, and unshakable. She will bring a level of warmth, passion, and loyalty that cannot be measured. But it starts with how you show up for her in the small moments. when she's quiet, when she's overthinking, when she needs reassurance but doesn't want to ask for it. When she has an idea and she's nervous, you'll think it's silly. When she's anxious about how she looks but pretends she's confident. When she's talking about her past and watching your face for signs of judgment. These are the moments where you either make her feel protected or exposed. And those small reactions build or break the trust she places in you. Women remember everything, not in a bitter or petty way, but because they attach emotion to memory. So when you protect her heart, her energy, and her self-worth, she never forgets that. She will remind herself of it every time she chooses to stay loyal. Every time she supports you when you fall. Every time she defends you to others. She gives back what you give her, often tenfold. But she needs to be protected first. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in all the ways that matter. And that's the position few men try. Not because they don't care, but because no one ever taught them that this kind of protection matters more than grand gestures. It's the consistency. It's the daily decision to be her safe place, her quiet strength, her emotional anchor. It's the way you hold her when she's not okay, without needing her to explain why. It's the soft yes behind the hard questions. It's knowing that even the strongest woman needs somewhere she can collapse without shame. So many women go through life feeling unheard. And it's not because they aren't speaking. No, they're speaking in volumes. Through their words, their silences, their body language, the way they pause mid-sentence, waiting for you to notice. But the truth is, most men never truly listen. They hear the words, maybe even respond with a nod or a yeah, but they aren't feeling what's being said. Listening isn't just about your ears. It's about your presence, your awareness, your heart being attuned to hers. And this is one of the most powerful positions a man can take, the position of the listener. Not just hearing, but understanding. Not just responding, but absorbing what's beneath the surface. When a woman speaks, she isn't always looking for answers. Sometimes she just wants to be held emotionally while she lets out the storm inside her. And here's the thing, when she's talking about her problems, her feelings, or even something that may seem small to you, like how a colleague spoke to her at work, or how a friend made her feel dismissed, she's not just sharing facts, she's sharing her emotional reality. If you interrupt her, try to fix it right away, or worse, minimize it, what you're really doing is teaching her that her world doesn't matter as much as your convenience. And over time, she'll stop talking, not because she doesn't feel anymore, but because she no longer believes you care enough to witness those feelings with her. Being a listener means slowing down and tuning in, not just to what she says, but how she says it, the shift in her tone, the hesitation in her voice, the slight tremble when she's trying not to cry. It's reading the room without needing a manual. It's noticing that she went quiet after dinner and asking, "You seem distant. Is something on your mind?" It's recognizing that when she tells you about a dream or an idea, what she's really asking is, "Do you believe in me?" Listening is not passive. It is an active choice to connect. It is a form of love in its purest, most respectful form. And the truth is, women crave this position more than they let on. They beg for it with subtle cues. When she repeats herself, she's not nagging. She's trying again, hoping you'll finally listen. When she asks, "Did you hear what I said?" she's not being annoying. She's checking to see if she still matters to you. When she brings up the same emotional need multiple times, she's not trying to be dramatic. She's longing to be seen, not as a problem to be solved, but as a person to be known. And when you fail to listen, truly listen, she starts to feel invisible. And when a woman feels invisible in a relationship, it's only a matter of time before she disconnects emotionally, then mentally, and eventually physically. The beautiful thing is that listening doesn't require money, effort, or even perfect words. It just requires presence. Real, grounded presence. It's putting your phone down when she's talking. It's turning off the TV, pausing the game, looking her in the eye and saying, "I'm here. Talk to me." It's following up on things she told you 2 days ago, even the ones that seemed insignificant. How did your meeting go? Did your mom call you back? Are you still feeling anxious about that presentation? These tiny questions tell her, I was paying attention. You matter to me. I'm walking through life with you, not just beside you. There's a sacredness in being the person a woman confides in. When she opens up to you, she's handing you fragile pieces of herself, her doubts, her hopes, her unspoken fears, and how you hold those pieces determines how safe she feels in your presence. If you listen with judgment, she learns to hide. If you listen with detachment, she feels unworthy. But if you listen with warmth, curiosity, and empathy, she blossoms. She becomes more of herself. And she starts to see you not just as her partner, but as her emotional home. And let's be honest, this position, when done right, also deepens your intimacy. Because the woman who feels heard is the woman who trusts. And the woman who trusts is the woman who lets go. In every way, she will meet you in passion, in partnership, in purpose, without holding back. But you must earn that openness. And listening is the key. It's not just about hearing when she's happy. It's listening when she's messy, frustrated, unsure, emotional. It's staying steady when her words are laced with fear. It's resisting the urge to defend yourself and instead asking, help me understand how you feel. That is maturity. That is connection. That is the love she's begging for, even when she doesn't say it aloud. So often men are taught to be providers, protectors, doers, but they aren't taught how to be listeners. And yet, listening is the gateway to everything else. You want to lead in love? Learn to listen. You want her respect? Learn to listen. You want her body, her loyalty, her deepest self? Learn to listen, not just to the words that come easy, but to the ones that carry weight, the ones wrapped in vulnerability, in silence, in trembling truths. Because the man who listens well loves well, and the woman who feels heard will move mountains to stay close to the one who gave her that emotional oxygen. Yes, she wants romance. Yes, she wants touch. Yes, she wants to feel desired. But what so many men fail to understand is that she doesn't want to be the one who always has to ignite the flame, who always has to reach first, speak first, plan first, lead first. She's not looking for a follower. She's looking for a man who can confidently take the lead, not just when it's time to make love, but in all the areas where intimacy quietly begins. The man who does second, first, counterfeit, coat. A woman craves initiation not because she's incapable of doing it herself, but because initiation tells her something deeper, something silent, that you want her, that she matters, that you're present and emotionally awake to the rhythm of the relationship. So many men think initiation means only one thing, making the first physical move in the bedroom. But real initiation begins long before that. It starts with a look across the room that says, I see you. It begins with the choice to reach for her hand when you're walking down the street. It's texting her in the middle of the day with no agenda other than to say, I can't stop thinking about your smile. It's setting up a date night without her asking. It's buying her favorite snack without her reminding you what it is. It's apologizing after an argument without needing her to be the one to break the silence. That's initiation. That's presence. That's effort. And that's the very thing so many women are emotionally starving for. Because here's what happens when you don't initiate. She starts to wonder if you still care. She begins to question her worth, not just in the relationship, but as a woman. She starts to replay the early days when you were all in. Texting first, planning dates, complimenting her without prompt. And she wonders, what changed? And when that wondering turns into distance, when her heart begins to slowly close, when her energy turns cold, it's not because she stopped loving you, it's because she grew tired of showing up for someone who made her feel like an option instead of a priority. And what makes it even more painful is that she likely won't say this outright. She might drop hints, make little comments like, "We never go out anymore," or "I feel like I'm the only one putting in effort." But when those hints fall flat, she starts to internalize the message that she must not be worth the pursuit anymore. And that hurts her in a place deeper than most men realize. Because every time you leave her waiting, wondering, or working too hard to be seen, you're placing her in a position of emotional exhaustion. You're putting the weight of the relationship on her back while you enjoy the comfort of her consistency. Initiating isn't about being romantic once a year or planning grand gestures to post on Instagram. It's about consistency. It's about saying through your actions, "I still choose you. I still want you. I still see you." And it's not just in the good times, but especially in the hard ones. After an argument, do you pull away, waiting for her to soften first? Or do you reach for her hand and say, "I know we're not okay right now, but I want to work through this with you"? After a long week, do you collapse into your own world, or do you look at her and say, "Let's do something together, just the two of us"? When she's distant, do you judge her, or do you draw near with curiosity instead of blame? A woman is deeply attracted to a man who initiates because it tells her he's paying attention, that he's tuned in, that he's not coasting through the relationship but actively participating in the emotional dance. And this matters more than you know, because for women, love is felt in the little things. She doesn't need a perfect man. She needs a present one. She needs someone who wakes up every day and says, "How can I love her better today than I did yesterday?" and then actually does something about it. Initiation isn't about ego, it's about intimacy. It's about saying, "I won't wait for you to carry all the weight. I'm going to step up, speak up, and show up." And when a woman sees that, when she feels that, she softens. Her guard comes down. Her love expands. Her trust deepens. And she becomes the kind of partner who will pour everything she has into the relationship, not because she has to chase you, but because she feels safe and seen and wanted by you. And that's what she's been craving from the very beginning. Not just physical initiation, but emotional pursuit. The kind that says, "You don't have to beg for my love. I'm already giving it freely, intentionally, consistently." And when you give that kind of energy to a woman, she doesn't just respond, she rises, she glows. She gives you a version of herself that only a man who truly initiates ever gets to see. This position isn't about flattery or shallow compliments, it's about something far more meaningful and lasting. The deep-rooted desire to feel seen, valued, and acknowledged. A woman wants to be validated, not in the sense of constant praise, but in the sense that her feelings, her thoughts, her efforts, and her presence are noticed and respected. What so many men miss is that validation is not something a woman begs for with her words. She begs for it with her silences, with her quiet pauses after expressing something personal, with her eyes scanning yours for a reaction when she reveals a piece of her vulnerability. She's not asking for empty words or robotic affirmations. She's asking you to actually see her, to witness her, to make her feel that who she is in all her complexity is enough. When a woman expresses her emotions, her fears, her goals, or even just her daily frustrations, and you brush them off or tell her she's overreacting, you send her a loud message that her inner world doesn't matter. And when she hears that message over and over again, she begins to doubt herself. She starts to question whether her emotions are too much, whether her voice is too loud, whether her dreams are too big. And that self-doubt doesn't just stay internal. It seeps into how she connects with you. She begins to shrink in your presence, not because she's weak, but because she no longer feels safe to take up space beside you. Validation is not about agreeing with everything she says. It's about acknowledging that her experience is real, even if it's different from yours. It's being able to say, I may not fully understand how you feel, but I believe you feel that way, and that's enough for me to care. It's about noticing the little things, the way she lights up when she talks about something she loves, the effort she puts into making you feel supported, the emotional labor she carries without being asked. It's the man who says, I see how hard you try. I see how much you give. I see how beautiful your strength is. These are not just words to her. They are confirmation that her love is landing, that her efforts are being met with appreciation instead of entitlement. There's a reason why so many women fall for men who listen, who pay attention, who remember small details, who say things like, I'm proud of you, at the right time. It's not because they want constant validation, like a need for approval. It's because they want to feel like their inner world is valued just as much as their outer appearance. A woman who is constantly praised for how she looks, but never validated for how she thinks, feels, and creates, will always feel empty, no matter how beautiful you tell her she is. She needs to know that the beauty of her mind and the depth of her heart are not going unnoticed. When she opens up about a creative idea, validate her courage. When she shares a fear, validate her vulnerability. When she talks about a childhood wound, validate her strength for surviving it. When she's tired but still shows up for you, validate her love. And you don't have to overdo it. Sometimes a soft, I admire that about you, or I love how your mind works, or I didn't realize how much that took out of you, thank you, can carry more weight than long speeches. It's not the volume of words that makes her feel seen, it's the sincerity behind them. Too many men operate from a place of criticism, thinking that pointing out flaws will somehow motivate her to be better. But what they don't realize is that constant critique without emotional validation doesn't push a woman forward, it pulls her into doubt. And a doubtful woman does not love the same way. She becomes cautious, protective, guarded. Doubtful woman, she loses the shine in her eyes. Not because she stopped loving you, but because she no longer feels nourished by your energy. Validation is the emotional nutrition she craves, and when she doesn't get it, something inside her starts to fade. And when you validate her properly, something magical happens. She starts to expand. She becomes more of herself. She takes more risks, expresses herself more openly, embraces her femininity more fully, and pours even more into the relationship. She puts her femininity in your hands, in constant reflection, in all you do together, the more you take her frame and bond her to you by simply being fully her, and bond her to you by simply being fully her, and bond her to you by simply being fully her, and bond her to you by simply being fully her, and bond her to you by simply being fully her, and bond her to you by simply because now she knows she doesn't have to earn your respect. She already has it. And when a woman feels respected and validated, she becomes unstoppable. She becomes a version of herself that glows from the inside out. She shows up with joy, softness, and fierce loyalty. Not because you demanded it, but because you inspired it through how you made her feel. Validation isn't about putting her on a pedestal. It's about meeting her eye to eye and letting her know that her essence, her truth, her existence is meaningful to you. It's about being the kind of man who can look at a woman and make her feel like she's more than enough. Not just for today, but always. And the men who learn to master this position don't just gain a partner, they gain a lover, a best friend, a believer, and a woman who will never stop pouring love into a man who finally made her feel emotionally seen. She doesn't want a perfect man. She wants a real one. One who can open up, who can soften, who can say, "I need you too," without shame. Because as strong and capable as she is, as independent and fierce as she appears, deep down she craves a kind of connection that only comes from shared vulnerability. This is the position most men are afraid to take, the position of the vulnerable one, the one who doesn't hide behind emotional walls, ego, or silence, but who shows up with his heart in his hands, unguarded and willing to be known. Too many men were taught that to be masculine means to be invincible, unshakable, always in control. They were conditioned to believe that feelings are a weakness, that expressing fear, sadness, or uncertainty somehow makes them less of a man. So they armor up, they toughen their tone, they keep conversations surface level, and they avoid anything that might expose a crack in the image. But what they don't realize is that the armor they wear to protect themselves is the very thing that keeps her at a distance. It blocks the emotional access she longs for. It prevents the deep, soul-level bond she desires. Because she doesn't want to connect with your mask, she wants to connect with you. There is something incredibly magnetic about a man who can be honest about his wounds, his insecurities, his dreams, and his fears. When you share your truth, not just your accomplishments, but the parts of you that feel uncertain or fragile, you invite her into a space where real intimacy can be born. She's not looking for someone who has it all figured out. She's looking for someone who trusts her enough to bring her into the process. The man who says, "I'm struggling today," or "sometimes I doubt myself," or "I still carry pain from my past," is not weak in her eyes. He is courageous. Because real strength is not in pretending nothing touches you, but in standing in the fire of your truth and allowing someone to love you there. When you open up, you're not burdening her. You're bonding with her. You're saying, "I trust you to hold this part of me." And that trust is a gift. It tells her she's not just a pretty face or a warm body to you. She's a partner, a confidant, a person worthy of your truth. And when she sees you like that, her guard lowers too. She feels safe enough to bring her full self, unfiltered, unpolished, real. Vulnerability is the great equalizer. It levels the emotional playing field and creates a space where both of you can breathe deeply without pretense. This position is powerful because it also breaks the cycle of silent suffering that so many men are trapped in. When you open up, you give yourself permission to heal. You make room for connection instead of loneliness. You stop pretending and start living, and she notices. She sees the shift. She feels more connected. She leans in closer, not because you made her feel needed in a desperate way, but because you let her be part of your emotional world. And that's where love truly flourishes. Vulnerability doesn't always have to be deep, heavy confessions. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I miss you," without playing it cool. It's admitting, "That hurt me," instead of masking it with anger. It's asking, "Can you just hold me for a minute," without worrying how it looks. It's being emotionally naked in moments when it would be easier to hide. It's showing that your strength includes softness, that your masculinity includes emotion, and that your love includes the willingness to be seen. What most men don't realize is that when they shut down emotionally, they create an emotional desert in the relationship. No matter how much she loves you, she can't keep pouring into a well that gives her nothing in return. She starts to feel alone, even in your arms. She starts to wonder if she truly knows you at all. And the sad truth is, many relationships fall apart not because of betrayal, but because of emotional isolation. Because the man refuses to be vulnerable, and the woman grows tired of feeling like a stranger beside someone she once knew. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can stop this way. The moment you let down your guard, the moment you choose to say, "This is where I'm at, and I'm trusting you with it," everything changes. You create a bridge between your heart and hers. You invite her to walk with you, not just beside the strong version of you, but beside the real version. And in doing so, you give her a love that feels human, grounded, and safe. You give her the kind of connection that makes her feel chosen, not just for her beauty or her body, but for her ability to hold space for your soul. She doesn't need a superhero. She doesn't need a man who never cries or a man who always knows what to do. She needs a man who's willing to be open, to be soft, to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable. Because it's in that discomfort that true connection is born. It's in that transparency that loyalty is deepened. It's in that emotional exposure that love becomes something unshakable. And once you step into this position, you won't want to go back. Because you'll realize that being seen and loved for who you really are is more powerful than being admired for who you pretend to be. The positions women beg for are emotional, not just physical. And when a man learns to step into these roles, he doesn't just please her, he transforms her, and in turn, he transforms himself. So men, it's time to try, time to show up differently, time to step into positions that take strength, but offer something far more valuable than fleeting pleasure. Emotional legacy, deep connection, and lasting love. Thank you for listening. That's right, surely, I think there's a reason for the men to be better than to be lifeless. Thank you for listening. That's right, surely, I think there's a reason for the men to be better than to be better than to be lifeless. Thank you for listening. Hope they might not be lost forever.